Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Voices of Rio Grande. I'm David Lawrence, along with my co-host, Dr. Donna Mitchell. We're glad that you're able to join us this afternoon. We have a special guest with us this afternoon. Susan Haft is with us. Susan is the director of our Office of Advising, New Student Advising, Testing, and Career Services. That's a mouthful, and she'll go into a little bit of all of that as we discuss some things. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Glad to have you.
My pleasure to be here.
Susan, we're really happy that you would join us today because we know you have a lot of interesting and exciting information to share with the group. We would like to start off by talking about the academic advising that happens out of your center. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what happens there?
Sure. Well, as David has said, we're a threefold office. We've got three major purposes that we strive to accomplish throughout the year. Academic advising does take the bulk of our time, and it's one of the most satisfying aspects of what we do. And we see such a wide range of students. I hope we get to talk a little bit about all of those types of students, all of those groups, and maybe what some of the differences are.
Could you talk to us a little bit about your CCP students?
Well, that's good timing because today we are testing our next group of CCP students. These are the junior high through high school students that do qualify for college credit. They do have to meet eligibility standards, so that's a tough accomplishment for these young people. And we do test them and assess their reading and mathematics ability to see if they are ready to handle college coursework, and then we invite them to our campus. It's a challenge for them and for us, but when it's conducted correctly, and I think we do a really good job with these young people, it's a really rewarding experience and allows the students to get a jump on their post-high school education and sometimes even leave us with associate degrees.
Now, you said that those students are as young as junior high students?
As of last year, we were able to go back and assess those students in the 7th and 8th grades to see if they are ready to meet this challenge as well. Some of them are. Some of them don't quite have the maturity or the academic skills at this young age, which is to be expected. They're high school students. But for those that can and do, it's often a very rewarding experience.
Have we had a lot of really younger students?
We have not had as many of the younger students, but those that we've had have fared well, and I understand that some who were being assessed this morning have also met our criteria. So we want to welcome them to campus and get started with this next group of young people.
That's a great opportunity for them.
It definitely is. When you talk about determining whether the students are prepared, do you do that for other students as well as your College Credit Plus students?
We do. We normally start with an assessment for all of our students as to their reading abilities and their mathematics ability to see where they can be placed in terms of those general education courses that they have to have. Our students come from such a wide range of histories and backgrounds, and some have not been in the academic system for a period of time, and this allows us to gauge where that student needs to start, what type of foundation we can help put under them so that they can build upon that and go on to successful gen ed courses and therefore toward their major curriculum. So we are looking at a combination of things when we assess them: writing ability, reading ability, of course, for reading intensive courses, and math. And of course, math is usually the problem spot that people encounter, and they will come out and say, I've not seen some of that math for 5 years, 10 years, and I always tell them I'm glad that it's them testing and not me, because I would feel the same way.
Sometimes math is one of those classes that we love to hate, and I know some of the students are a little uncomfortable about math, but it's good, I think, that we test them early and then we give them the remediation, because the ultimate goal is for them to be successful.
It is, and there's many different levels at which they can start, and there's many different support systems available to help these students. They can participate in free tutoring through the math lab, and the faculty within the mathematics department are aware that these students are coming to us with a wide range of abilities. And math methods, we know, frequently change, and all of these things are dictated not only how we solve them by us, but by the state of Ohio, and many other people come into play in how we place and then subsequently serve these students.
And you're right, we do have to make a lot of changes periodically, simply because External forces, specifically the state of Ohio Department of Higher Education, will mandate certain things, and we're in the process of doing that. I know that the math faculty across the state of Ohio have been meeting to determine exactly what should be a college-level math class, not just for math students or STEM students, those students going into areas such as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, obviously, but for those students going into other areas, the liberal arts, histories, things like that. And that's always been a challenge.
I understand that there's a course that comes from your area called LA 100, and it's a course that all of our new incoming freshmen take. Could you tell us a little bit about that course?
LA 100 is probably one of the most rewarding aspects of what I personally have worked with, and those instructors who have been handling and teaching this course over a period of years under many different inceptions and many different names. Most frequently freshman success, you will hear at other schools, freshman orientation. This class is a continuation of what the student gets when they come for the summer orientation program. And in this orientation class, we are teaching students how to manage their time, about RIO's policies, deadlines, procedures, support services, where to go for help, how to manage certain situations, visiting museums, visiting our library, visiting our Jenkins Center frequently, our computer labs. We're doing personality assessment. We begin doing career exploration immediately. And all of these things factor in. We're tying in the students' challenges with math, with what their personality type is, with whether or not they want to work outdoors or indoors. And we're trying to consider all of these issues and give the student the tools to maybe come to a greater self-realization about what it is they want to do, who they are. It's a learning process. We make a lot of good contacts through this class in terms of students that will stay with us. I know I'm still talking to some of my former students 20 years later, and it is really rewarding to see these students come in, get to know them through their writings, and see them progress through RIO and into their career.
That sounds like a great course. I know my daughter's just recently started college, and I talked to her and talked to her classmates, and they would say, we're really nervous. We don't know what we want to be. They're only 17, maybe 18 years old. So this gives them a chance to explore rather than come in and feel like they're already behind if they don't have a major in mind.
It really does, Donna. And these are students that are really sharp students. They've been pursuing their academics. They've done well. We really cannot always expect a student who is 17 or 18 to know all the options that exist. I would think the three of us certainly did not at that time. You become more educated and more aware as to the academic process. Mm-hmm. And you also learn what type of program or what degree gets you ultimately to where you want to go. You may not want to stay in southeastern Ohio. You may be wanting to go to a more urban area. And we try to make the student conscious of all these considerations. Mm-hmm.
Now you do a lot of advising, and as you said, that's the bulk of what your office does. But your office, as I tried to explain, or at least list earlier, is involved in a number of things, including testing. Can you talk a little bit about what goes on in the testing area?
Testing is really an interesting process in everything that must be taken into consideration. You've got an office that is sometimes very high traffic, and yet we have to accommodate those students who need a quiet testing area. So we're always trying to balance that out. We provide cubicles, we provide surveillance, for which a lot of our nursing students do test under surveillance. We also provide a lot of community testing. Beverly, my colleague, the other day gave a test for a truck driver. And so she had to be aware of how to administer the hand signals that the truck driver would need to know. Again, we go back to the assessment and the compass testing, that placement testing that we give the students when they first come in. We are testing the students who are in the LPN to RN program who are taking their courses online and need an office to come in and administer their test. We also facilitate the GED testing now. The students normally do their GED prep at Buckeye Hills and then come over to our place and do their GED testing. We frequently see some of the young men out of Nelsonville who come in on a weekly basis. And some of the nicest young men we work with, and we always try to have a basket of candy and cookies and things out for them so that they enjoy coming for tests at our place. But we also are involved in the ACT, and we about 5 times a year administer the National ACT. We also give the residual, which is for RIO students that plan to stay at RIO, because frequently an athlete will need an ACT score, and our allied health students still must maintain or meet a 20 on their ACT. So we also give that in a timely basis to meet their application deadlines.
So you have a lot of different types of testing, and you mentioned you used the word accommodations, and we do have some students that's a federal mandate.
It is.
Where if a student has some kind of learning disability or learning challenge or a physical challenge or disability, that if it's documented, we have to address that somehow. And your office oftentimes is the office that handles some of that. Is that correct?
We do. We get to know those students. The student identifies themselves to us as having that accommodation. Sometimes it's as simple as they just need a quieter classroom, a quieter cubicle, a little bit out of the mainstream classroom, so that they can maximize their testing ability. And we try to provide that as well.
You do have a good site for testing. I've been over there when you've been giving the tests, and it's a quiet area, it's a secluded area, so for some of our students who actually need that extra quiet and space and maybe extra time, it's a good location.
Thank you.
for
It
them.
is a good option, and a lot of our faculty do participate and bring in makeup tests and leave them there in the office for students who have missed a test. They can test there. Yesterday, Rob Hopkins had left a box of rocks, and we were trying to help the students take this test. Our first time with a box of rocks, so that was interesting, a geology test.
That sounds like Dr. Hopkins to bring in a box of rocks.
That was a new one.
Yeah.
So you do all kinds of testing.
All
from
kinds of testing.
Rocks to paper and pencil to the computer.
Exactly, all kinds of testing.
You also do some work with career services. I know there's a website now called Ohio Means Jobs, and I have a lot of the technology programs. So we are on that website quite a bit looking at what jobs are in the area. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you do in that role?
In terms of career services, we have 2 major events that we conduct yearly. We do RIO's annual career fair, and we do that now at the end of March because it is time to coincide with commencement, and it is primarily for our graduates and presenting options to them both here locally and in West Virginia and as far away as Central Ohio. And we also do the Teacher Recruitment Consortium, where we send our students to Ohio University. We partner with Muskingum, Marietta, and OU, and have a teacher fair. That just happens to be Friday, April the 15th. And we are sending approximately 5 students, or have sent, hopefully, our 5 students to the TRC in Athens. We do mock interviews, we do interview services. We do, mock interviews and resumes. We do have students come in and do practice interviews. We can take a student from square one on a resume, or we can polish a student's resumes. We do attempt to stay trendy as to what is current in terms of resumes. For instance, this year, objectives are out and taglines are in. So like other things in education, it does change frequently, and so we're always trying to monitor that. But anytime a student needs any type of advice on what major they should pursue in terms of their career, we can give them some insight into that. We do have 2 job search engines. We had already been established with College Central, which is a major search engine. A student can go in and look and see what is available that employers have posted. They can also upload their resume for possible hits. And most recently, our emphasis and the state's emphasis has been on Ohio Means Jobs, and we now have a kiosk with the Ohio Means Jobs materials available in the office.
Have you had a lot of students starting to take advantage of that? That's a fairly new initiative for Ohio.
Ohio Means Jobs is fairly new. We had a wonderful young man, Matt Renison, come to our Gateway courses, our LA 100 courses, and speak and demonstrate the Ohio Means Jobs. And I was fascinated, and I think the students were too, at not just the job search aspect of Ohio Means Jobs, but the other things that Ohio Means Jobs had available. They could instruct on resume preparation and just many, many helpful career tips available through Ohio Means Jobs. So,
And if I'm not mistaken, I've been on there a few times, but I haven't really spent a whole lot of time there. They've got a lot of data that you can review to see where jobs are located throughout the state. Is
they
that right?
do a lot of data. It's really a cute system. The student can, instead of a shopping cart, they maintain a little backpack, and they can keep all of their information in this backpack. They can revisit the site, pick right back up where they left off, and just a good site. I think the state has done a good job with getting the word out. I know they conducted meetings in each quadrant of the state to get around to all the schools, to make this accessible for all the schools. This year, I believe their focus is even on getting into the high schools. They want to have students now thinking about these things in high school. And in the case of what Donna works so heavily with, so often with, the nursing professions and the allied health professions especially, I don't think you can start too early to be thinking about the chemistries and the physics and what level of mathematics you will need to pursue and reach. And so I think this concerted effort is good.
We see that with our sonography students too, because they don't actually need physics in high school, but we find that if they take physics in high school, it makes their courses much easier when they come into college, because they're going to be taking physics for several semesters.
Now, one of the other things that we have going on institution-wide, you're also involved with, and that's our accreditation process, which is AQUIP. That's a pathway for the accreditation that we have with our regional accreditor, the Higher Learning Commission. Part of that process is to have what they call action projects, and those are projects that are campus-wide that allow us to, as an institution, to tackle some specific problems or some specific areas that we want to improve upon. And we've had numerous ones in the past. One of them that we have currently, you're actually taking the lead on because it's related to advising. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
It is, and I think it was 2 years ago that you came to me and we discussed this project. And we are calling this Seamless Advising, Closing the Gaps in Academic Advising. It's not a particular issue to Rio Grande, but to all schools, as to how to best facilitate the students' entrance into the school and smoothly pursuing their academic plan or program through commencement. And the way Rio is structured is that any student who does not have a major when they come in comes in through the advising office. And with this particular situation, we look at the advising office as the hub. When the student then declares a major, we want that student in their school or their particular department as quickly as possible. We all know that the students bond over common majors, and they become very close to their instructors in their particular area. I think we can all think back on our careers as to where we hung out. I knew for English majors a long time ago. During my era, it was in Allen House. We know that the arts majors all share a commonality and love for their arts. We want them to be able to, these students, take advantage of the skills, talents of their fellow students, of their academic advisors, of their faculty members. We want a smooth and seamless transition from the time that the student walks in Rio's door through pursuit of their program or their degree to commencement. And so we are promoting that all of us be accessible to these students, especially during the registration periods, that we're knowledgeable about our programs, that we stay on trend in terms of what the state is handing down. I think we could probably all agree, and again, other schools included, communication remains the biggest issue when you're dealing with something that is so live, so active. But we want to make sure that we are giving everyone involved in this AQUIP project a voice and an advantage in terms of the end result. We're now in the faculty phase. We started out by speaking with our secretarial staff, our administrative assistants. Now we're into the faculty phase and planning a wrap-up probably shortly after May of 16 with updated handbooks and advising manuals for everyone to view.
And that is, and you mentioned this, the external forces that are constantly in change. We continually have to change processes throughout the student's career here, sometimes multiple times during the semester, and it's difficult to stay on top of that. And you're right, is a challenge not only for us, but for any school. And we're a relatively small school, and that comes with both challenges as well as advantages. One of the advantages is we typically know students. We get to know them a little bit better than perhaps a larger school where you might not know your faculty members as quite as closely. And speaking of faculty, one of the advantages, I think, to a system that we are currently using, we have our faculty who do primarily the advising, and certainly in their disciplines, because they know their disciplines. That's an advantage. Donna and I were at a meeting this morning talking about some of the challenges to that, and you're right, it does come back to communication. How do you keep people abreast of all the changes that are going on, which seem to be constant?
And that is a challenge, and it's also a challenge to meet the student wherever the student might be and to be available to the student. And sometimes those advising issues are outside of the academic realm.
We find that often, and we also detect sometimes that the student thinks that they are the only one. And if you can communicate to the student that you yourself have been in this situation, that you've seen others come successfully through some of these situations, if you can get the student to the right resource person, if we can all just help where we see that help is needed, I think that's a tremendous boon for the student. And when you know the student's struggles and you see them come through successfully, that's probably the greatest reward with what any of us are doing in our positions.
Yeah, you see that student walk across the stage at graduation, and it's almost like it's your own child when you see that student. It's a success story come across.
It truly is.
And it's a very much a real challenge for us here because we have such a variety of students. Now, a lot of schools have that same issue, but being a small institution with rather limited resources, that becomes an issue as to how you address the variety of students that you get and their individual needs. And I think you're right. We do a good job with that. We chose this project because we knew that there was room for improvement, but I do believe we do a good job with that.
I agree.
We know the better job we do with advising, the better we are able to retain our students. So it's a good idea for everybody involved, the student, the institution, the faculty, etc. And I think our students are happier when we've helped them to make the connections, and sometimes just to make the connections with the outside agencies or with financial aid or with records or with whomever it is that they need to talk, just to make sure that they are moving down the right path to be successful and for the ultimate goal of graduation. Are there other initiatives that you're working on in your area, Susan?
Well, I would make a plug for an event that we have coming up next week, or I'm sorry, is that correct? April 21st. Mm-hmm. We are doing the Summer Sizzle, and this event is an attempt to boost our summer registration numbers, but we have been able to include a live broadcast from the Wolf 93.1. They're coming with Garth Brooks tickets. Hopefully that's an incentive. Of food, both provided by my office and David Ding. David is so good to host the cookouts through the summer months. We've got some door prizes. Just a lot of activities, some summer games that we'll be playing in what we are now calling the Grand Central, which was formerly the Raskeller and then the food court. It's been through a lot of evolutions, but right now it's the Grand Central in the food court area. And I hope folks will enjoy it. I hope they turn out and participate. So we'll give this a try and see how it goes. Our first attempt.
And that's open for any student?
That is open for any student. The drawing is open for any student. Unfortunately, we are not eligible for the Garth Brooks tickets, but come anyway. Come anyway and grab something to eat.
It sounds like a fun event for the students with the games and then the opportunity to win tickets. And are there other door prizes in addition to the Garth Brooks tickets?
We will have some giveaways, and of course the health fair is going on at the same time. I'll put that plug in there for Marlene and health services. Health fair is going on right across the mall area. They're off the basketball court. So just a lot of different activities going on that day.
Since you mentioned the health fair and we have a few minutes, I would like to put even a bigger plug in for that health fair because it is a community health fair. It's open to everybody in the community. And some of the services that have been provided in the past have been blood pressure screening, cholesterol screening, blood sugar screening. Not sure exactly what all will be offered this year, but I would assume it would be some similar services. And they also have door prizes, and those are open to anybody in the community who would like to come in and take part. And typically some of those door prizes are pretty nice.
Pretty nice prizes?
They usually give a prize about every 10 minutes, so you got a pretty good chance of winning something. And then they also have the vendors who will have different things that they are giving away, from the little pill packets to sometimes the wooden thing that you use to get the oven shelf out. I don't know what those things are called. So, and it's a really good idea for people to come in and know their numbers, as we say, so that they know if they have areas that need to be addressed, they can get to their physician and
Well, I
take
hope
care of
those
that.
seniors that come to the health fair in our community walks through the Grand Central as well and come in and we'll sign you up for a summer course.
Well, they
There
might
you go.
just
They
do
may
that.
do that.
Yeah, there you go.
They frequently do.
And that's Thursday, April 21st.
Thursday, April 21st, activities starting at 10.
Okay. And hopefully we'll have some good weather because a lot of that will be outside.
Sounds like a good time.
It does.
We'll
does.
see, hope so.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and talking with us and sharing with our audience some of the things that are going on in your office. You do cover a lot of areas with advising the multitude of students that we have coming in. The testing, everybody's excited about testing. So it was nice to hear that you have cookies and some candy and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Kind of
Soften
soften
the
the blow.
blow.
Yeah, a little bit. That can be pretty stressful. And then, of course, career services. And we just to let you know, our audience know, we've got our commencement ceremonies coming up on May 7th, I believe, this year. We're hoping for good weather again there. Are you involved in any of the commencement activities?
No longer.
No longer.
Not in this position.
All right. Well, of course, Dr. Mitchell and I will be involved in that as well. And we're looking forward to that. And it's the end of the academic year, so we've got so many things going on. There's no time to even go into all those things. I suggest you contact the website and look on Rio's website to get some of the some of the calendar events that are going on. We have a lot of musical events, some art shows coming up, a lot of end of the year things going on. So it's a very exciting time. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would definitely agree. I always like the pinning ceremonies because I come from the health fields.
Well, that's true. We've got a few of those going on as
We've
well.
got quite a few of those going on.
Well, we are glad that you're here with us, and we look forward to spending some more time with you at a future time. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.